Hey guys, welcome to week 6 of distance learning. Officially this week we only have 6 weeks left of the school year, and this is the week that we start our novel reading, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to go over some announcements and then I will be reading our class novel. If you're still following along, you can keep listening at that time. So last week, starting in the week 5 of distance learning, our grades did start counting again. Those will go on your official 6th grade transcript. So I did notice that some of you guys had been slacking off a little bit before week 5. That's fine. Those grades don't count. I'm not worried about those. But starting in the week 5 assignment you did for me this week, those grades go in the grade book. So if you are missing it, I will still allow you to complete it. But if you did not turn it in and you didn't do the work, you can expect that your current average for my class for this 6 weeks is going to be a 0. And I don't want you to freak out, but please get your work done so that we can make sure that all of you guys are passing in this last 6 weeks. So there'll be a 0 in the grade book until you guys turn in the work, and then I'll be happy to go ahead and give you no late penalty, but please get it into me, okay? We're going to do 2 assignments each week. It's going to be really easy. The first assignment is going to be a quick write. It's going to be worth out of 100 points, so that's 1. And then the second assignment is going to be you will read your chapters in whatever novel group you got put into, and then you'll respond to a question. It's either going to be in the slide or it's going to be posted as a discussion question. But just like always, all you have to do is go through every slide of the slideshow, the Google Slides, and it's going to give all of your instructions in there. So this week you're going to be telling me about the exposition of the story that you are reading. There are going to be PDFs of each of the novels in the drive, so you do not need to buy the novel. As soon as you guys log in Monday, it'll tell you what group you're in, what book you're going to be reading. All you have to do is click on that PDF and you can start reading from your computer or your iPad or whatever you're using right now. So the 2 grades, again, are going to be the quick write grade out of 100 points, and then the novel reading and discussion based on that. So novel, 1 grade, quick write is your other grade. If you do both of them, you'll have a 100 average. It's going to be really easy. One thing I wanted to let you guys know about based on the novels, if you did not do the work by Saturday night, I just put you into a random group. All of the books are really awesome, so you'll enjoy whatever you do end up reading. I'm not going to be moving any of the groups around at this time, so if you got put into a group and you're like, I don't know if I really want to read that novel, it's too late at this point, but you are welcome to click on any of the other PDFs and read them for fun. So this group that you are in is going to be your group for the next 6 weeks, and the people that are reading the same book as you are going to be the people having the same discussion with you on that book. So just to recap everything that I've gone over, because this is a little new this week, is you guys are going to be grades count again. So if you didn't do the work, you have a 0. So please get it in. You're going to have 2 assignments each week, the quick write and then something based on whatever you read in the novel. And then the novels, all of the information that you need for them will be in the slideshow, and the novel PDFs will be available to you online. I highly recommend that you guys click download on the PDF, so all you have to do is open it up on your phone and you don't have to go through Google Classroom to read it every time, okay? I think that's it for new announcements. I really liked seeing the pictures that you guys put in your warm-up or in your quick writes for week 4. Those were really cool, and I'm enjoying reading what you guys are telling me in your quick writes for week 5 as well. Feel free to add pictures. I love seeing pictures of your pets or activities that you've been doing. A few of you guys put pictures of your dogs in there, which was really cool. I saw some cool food that you guys had cooked, some activities that you guys did. Maybe if you go out for a walk in your neighborhood and you take a cool picture of something, I'd love to see it, upload it into your quick write. I'd love to see what you guys have been up to. I've been reading a lot more, and yeah, that's just a lot of reading, grading your papers, seeing what you guys are up to. I did teach my dog a new trick, so hopefully I can get him to do it next time we do one of these videos. I hope you guys are well. Please do stay in touch. For those of you that are not completing your work on time, please let me know what's going on. If you have an illness in your family or you're having technology issues, that's not a problem. I can help you with that, but you need to let me know what's going on so we're not just watching your grades go to failing for no reason. Okay, so keep me posted. I care about you guys. I'm here for you. We've got 6 more weeks together in the 6th grade, which is crazy. I feel very honored to get to work with you guys, even if it's just online, and I can't wait to see you guys after the summer. But for now, I guess here's the novel. Actually, before the novel, I did have somebody who wanted to say hi. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to fire him from being my co-teacher because he's been sleeping on the job. But Mars does want to say, hey guys, make sure you get your work done this week. Joseph, just outside Havana Harbor, 1939, 18 days from home. Joseph tried to hang on to the chair, but his father was still strong enough to yank it out of his hands. Papa stacked it on the tower of furniture he'd already piled up against the door. We can't let them back in, Papa cried. They'll come for us again and take us away. It had taken Joseph and his mother a night and a day to put their cabin back together after Otto Shindig and his goons had torn the place up. But in the span of 15 minutes, his father had undone it all again, snatching up anything that wasn't nailed down and stacking it against the door. Ruthie crouched in the corner, crying and hugging Bitsy. Joseph's mother had sewed the stuffed bunny back together first thing before Ruthie had seen it headless. Aaron, Joseph's mother said now, you have to calm down. You're scaring your daughter. He was scaring Joseph too. Joseph stared at his father. This skeleton, this crazed ghost, this wasn't his father. The Nazis had taken his father away and replaced him with a madman. You don't understand, Joseph's father said. You can't know what they did to those people, what they'll do to us. Papa threw an open suitcase on the pile, spilling clothes all over the room. When he put everything he could on the barricade, he crawled under the desk at the back of the room like a child playing hide and seek. Mama looked frightened as she tried to figure out what to do. Ruthie, she said at last, put your swimsuit on and go to the pool. I don't want to go swimming, Ruthie said, still crying in the corner. Do as I say, Mama said. Ruthie pulled herself away from the wall and picked through the clothes on the floor for her swimsuit. Joseph, Mama said, low enough for just him to hear her. I'm going to go to the ship's doctor for a sleeping draft for your father. Something to calm him. I'll take Ruthie to the pool, but I need you to stay here and watch your father. Papa was still curled into a ball under the desk, rocking and muttering to himself. The idea of being here alone with him filled Joseph with dread. But if the doctor knows he's unwell, they might not let us into Cuba, Joseph whispered, desperate to find some reason to keep his mother with him. I'll tell the doctor I'm anxious and haven't been sleeping, Mama said. I'll tell him the draft is for me. Joseph's mother helped Ruthie finish putting her swimsuit on, and together they were able to pull the haphazard pile of furniture far away enough from the door to open it. Joseph's father, who'd been so set on building the barricade just minutes before, was so lost in his own mind he didn't even notice. Joseph didn't know what to do with himself, so he started to put the room back together. Papa stayed quiet and still under the desk. Joseph hoped he had gone to sleep. Mama came back within minutes, and Joseph felt an immense sense of relief, until he saw the dull, panicked look Mama wore, and he got scared all over again. She stumbled as she entered the cabin like she couldn't remember how to walk, and Joseph hurried to help her to one of the beds. Mama, what is it? What's wrong? Joseph asked. I told the doctor the sleeping draft was for me, she said, her words slow, and he made me take it right there. You drank it? Joseph said. His mother's eyelids fluttered. I had to, she said. After I told it, couldn't let him know Aaron was really the one who... Mama's eyelids closed and she swayed. Joseph panicked. She couldn't go to sleep. Not now. How was he supposed to take care of his father? He couldn't do this alone. Mama, don't go to sleep. Her eyes jerked open again, but they had lost their focus. Your sister, she said. Don't forget, your sister. She's at the pool. Her eyes flickered closed again, and she rolled back onto the bed. No, Joseph said. He tried patting his mother on the cheeks to wake her up, but she was out cold. Joseph got up and paced the room, trying to think. With his mother asleep, he had to watch his father every second. Joseph glanced at him under the desk. Papa was quiet now, but the slightest thing could set him off. Joseph couldn't go for help anyway. If anyone knew his father was unwell, he'd be barred from entering Cuba. But Joseph also had to go get Ruthie at some point and make sure she got dinner and was put to bed. Suddenly, Joseph was the man of the family, the only adult in the family, whether he wanted to be or not. Have you ever seen a man drown? Papa asked in a whisper, and Joseph jumped. Joseph wasn't sure if Papa was talking to him or just talking, but he was afraid to answer, afraid to break the quiet spell his father was under. His father kept talking. After the evening roll call, they would choose someone to drown, one every night. They would tie his ankles together and his hands behind his back and tie a gag around his mouth, and then they would hang him upside down with his head in a barrel, like a fish, like a big fish on a pier hanging upside down by its tail. Then they would fill the barrel with water, slowly, so they could enjoy the panic, so they could laugh. And then the water would rise high enough to cover his nose, and he would breathe in water because there was nothing else he could do. He would breathe in water like a fish, only he wasn't a fish, he was a man. He would thrash around and breathe water until he drowned upside down. Joseph's breathing stilled. He caught himself hugging Ruthie's stuffed bunny tight. Every night they did it, and we all had to stand and watch, his father whispered. We had to stand and watch, and we couldn't say a word, couldn't move a muscle, or we would be next. Tears rolled down Joseph's cheeks. He thought about how he'd treated his father at the Cuban doctor's examination, how he'd made his father believe he was back in that place where he'd seen so many awful things. I can't go back there, his father whispered. Can't go back. His father closed his eyes and put his head between his knees, and soon he was asleep. Joseph sat with his sleeping parents until the cabin started to get dark and he couldn't put off finding Ruthie any longer. He would just have to be as quick as he could. Joseph left the cabin and found his sisters splashing around in the pool with the other kids. Joseph asked his steward to bring their dinners to their cabin tonight, and as he led Ruthie back, he congratulated himself on surviving his first day as an adult. Until he opened the door and his father was gone. Joseph dropped Ruthie's hands and got down on his hands and knees to search under the beds, but his father wasn't there. He wasn't in the cabin at all. No, no, Joseph cried. He shook his mother, begged her to wake up, but the sleeping draught was too powerful. Joseph spun in the room, trying to figure out what to do. He snatched up Bitsy and put the little stuffed bunny into Ruthie's arms. Stay here, he told Ruthie. Stay here with Mama and don't leave the cabin. Understood? I've got to go find Papa. Joseph ran out of the door and into the passageway. But where to now? Where would his father go? Papa hadn't left the cabin the whole trip, and now he had decided to leave. Joseph heard a commotion, and he sprinted up the stairs to A deck. Up ahead, a man was helping a woman to her feet, and both of them were looking angrily over their shoulders, the direction Papa must have run. And that's when Joseph remembered. His father had left the cabin before, to watch them bury Professor Wheeler at sea. Somewhere up ahead, a woman screamed, and Joseph took off at a run. He felt as though he was outside himself, like he existed outside his own skin, and he watched himself slam into the rail and look over the side. Someone yelled, "Man overboard!" and the ship's siren shrieked. Joseph's father had jumped into the sea. Isabel, somewhere on the Caribbean Sea, 1994, 3 days from home. Isabel woke to a warm orange glow on the horizon and a silver sea stretching out before them like a mirror. It was as though the storm had been some kind of feverish nightmare. Senor Castillo woke from his nightmare too, parched like a man who'd been lost in the desert. He drank almost half of one of the few gallons of water they had left in one long chug, then laid back against the side of the boat. Isabel worried about her mother. For Mommy, the nightmare was just beginning. The illness she'd felt as the storm began had gotten worse in the night, and now she had a fever hotter than the rising sun. Lito dipped his scrap of shirt into cool seawater and draped it across his daughter's forehead to cool her. But without the aspirin from the lost medicine box, there was no way to bring the fever down. The baby, Mommy moaned, holding her stomach. The baby will be fine, Lito told her. A good, strong, healthy baby boy. Lito and Senor Castillo took care of Isabel's mother. Papi and Luis got the engine restarted and bathed it with water to keep it cool. Amara at the rudder steered them north now that the sun was in the sky. Everybody had a job, it seemed, except Isabel and Yvonne. Isabel bumped shoulders and stepped on toes as she wobbled her way over to Yvonne in the prow of the boat. She sat down beside him with a huff. I feel useless, she told Yvonne. I know, he said. Me too. They sat for a while in silence before Yvonne said, Do you think we'll have to do algebra in our new American school? Isabel laughed. Yes. Will they have political rallies every day at school in the U.S.? Will we have to work in the fields all afternoon? His eyes went wide. Do you think we'll have to carry guns to protect us from all the shootings? I don't know, Isabel told him. Their teachers told them all the time how homeless people starved in the streets of the U.S., and how people who couldn't afford to pay for doctors got sick and died, and how thousands of people were killed by guns every year. As happy as she had been to go to El Norte, Isabel suddenly worried that it wouldn't be as magical a place as everyone in the boat believed. No matter what, I'm glad you came with us, Yvonne said. Now we can live next door to each other forever. Isabel blushed and looked at her feet. She liked that thought, too. Castor's face was even more submerged now, which meant they were taking on water. Between the tanker and the storm, the little boat had suffered a pounding, and it had never been very seaworthy to begin with. Senor Castillo had only expected the boat to be on the water for a day, 2 at most. How much longer would it take them to get to Florida? And where exactly were they? Hey, is that land? Yvonne said. He pointed over the side of the boat. Isabel and the others scrambled so quickly to see that the boat tipped dangerously into the water. Yes, Isabel could see it. A long, thin, dark green line along the blue horizon. Land. Is it Florida? Yvonne asked. It's on the wrong side of the boat to be the U.S., Luis said, looking back into the sun, unless we got blown into the Gulf of Mexico overnight. Whatever it is, I'm steering for it, Amara told them. Everyone watched in silence as the green line turned into hills and trees and the water got clearer and shallower. Isabel held her breath. She had never been so excited in her entire life. Was it really the United States? Had they made it? Amara brought them close to shore and then turned and ran south along it. Isabel searched the shore. There, she pointed to red and yellow beach umbrellas with chairs underneath them. And in the beach chairs were white people. A woman in a bikini lifted her black sunglasses and pointed at them, and the man with her sat up and stared. As the boat rounded the beach, Isabel saw more people, all staring and pointing and waving. Yes, we made it, Isabel said, shaking Yvonne's arms. Yvonne hopped up and down so much the boat groaned. Florida, he cried. A black man in a white suit hurried down the beach toward them, waving his arms over his head to get their attention. He yelled something in English and pointed for them to go farther south. Amara followed the shore around a bend, and the open ocean gave way to a quiet little bay with a long wooden pier. The pier had a little cafe on it with tables and chairs. Fancy two-man sailboats were parked on the beach next to volleyball courts, and more umbrellas and chairs dotted the sand. Isabel's heart leapt. The U.S. was even more of a paradise than she ever imagined. Louise flipped a switch, and the putter of the engine died. The white people got up from their tables at the bar to help pull them to the dock, and Isabel and the others reached for their hands. Their fingertips were almost close enough to touch when black men in white short-sleeve uniforms pushed their ways between the vacationers on the pier and the boat. One of them said something in a language Isabel didn't understand. I think he's asking us if we're from Haiti, Lito said to the others in the boat. We are from Cuba, he said slowly in Spanish to the uniformed man. You're from Cuba? The officer asked in Spanish. Yes, they cried. Where are we, Papi asked. The Bahamas, the man said. The Bahamas? Isabel's mind went back to the map of the Caribbean on the wall of her schoolroom. The Bahamas were islands to the north and east of Havana, directly above the middle of Cuba, a long way east of Miami. Had the storm really taken them that far off course? I'm sorry, the officer said, but you are not allowed to land. Bahamian law forbids the entrance of illegal aliens to the Bahamas. If you set foot on Bahamian soil, you will be taken into custody and returned to your country of origin. Behind the officers, one of the tourists who knew Spanish was translating for the others. Some of them looked upset and started arguing with the authorities. But we have a sick, pregnant woman, Lito said to the officer. He moved to the men on the dock, could see Isabel's mother, and the tourists behind the officers cried out in concern. The officers conferred, and Isabel held her breath. The commandant says that for health reasons, the pregnant woman may come ashore and receive medical attention, the Spanish-speaking officer said. Isabel and Yvonne clutched at each other with hope. But she cannot have her baby here, the officer said. As soon as she is well, she will be deported to Cuba. Isabel and Yvonne sagged, and everyone else on the little boat was silent. Isabel felt sick. She wanted her mother to get better, but she didn't want them to be sent back to Cuba. Couldn't the Bahamas just let them stay? How was one more Cuban family going to hurt? She looked back at the pier and nice cafe. They had plenty of room. The situation was explained to the tourists on the pier, and they gasped and waited. All right, Lito said. My daughter is sick. She needs medical attention. No, Papi said. You heard him. If we step off this boat, they'll send us back to Cuba. I'm not going back. Then I will go with her, Lito said. I care for Teresa's life more than I care for El Norte. Tears ran down Isabel's cheeks. No, this wasn't the way things were supposed to happen. Her family was supposed to be together. That's why she'd insisted they all go on the boat. And if her mother went back to Cuba and her father went on to the United States, which one was she supposed to go with? Lito started to lift Isabel's mother, but Mommy pushed him away. No, Isabel's mother said. But Teresa, Lito said, no, I don't want my baby born in Cuba. But you're ill. You can't take another ocean voyage, Lito argued. I will not go back, Mommy said. She reached up and took her husband's and her daughter's hands. I will stay with my family. Relieved, Isabel threw herself into her mother's arms. She was surprised when she felt her father kneel down in the boat and hug them both. It sounds like we're leaving then, Louise told everyone in the boat. Before they could get the engine restarted, one of the tourists tossed down a bottle of water to Senora Castillo. Soon the rest of the tourists were hurrying back and forth to the cafe, buying bottles of water and bags of chips and tossing them into everyone's hands on the boat. Aspirin? Does anyone have aspirin for my mother? Isabel begged. Up on the dock, an old white woman understood. She quickly dug around in her big purse and tossed a plastic bottle full of pills to Isabel. Thank you, Isabel cried. Her heart ached with gratitude toward these people. Just a moment's kindness from each of them might mean the difference between death and survival for her mother and everyone else on the little raft. By the time they finally restarted the engine and Omar swung them around to leave, they had more food and water than they had brought with them to begin with, but they were farther away from Florida and freedom than they had ever been before. Mahmoud, somewhere on the Mediterranean Sea, 2015, 11 days from home. My baby, Mahmoud's mother wailed. My Hana is gone. The Mediterranean was still attacking them, wave after wave trying to drown them, and Mahmoud could tell that his mother didn't want to fight anymore. It was all Mahmoud could do to keep her head above the water. I'm still here, Mahmoud told her. I need you. I gave my baby to a stranger, Mahmoud's mother howled. I don't even know who she was. She's safe now, Mahmoud told her. Hana is out of the water. She's going to live. But Mahmoud's mother would not be consoled. She lay in the water, her face to the sky, and sobbed. The dinghy coming by had re-energized Mahmoud, but he could feel the buzz quickly draining away, replaced by a cold exhaustion that left his arms and legs numb. The sea rolled over him and he went under again, coming up spluttering. He could not keep himself and his mother afloat, not for long. They were going to die here. But at least Hana was safe. Yes, he had been the one to convince a stranger to take his little sister away, and yes, his mother might never forgive herself for letting Hana go. But at least neither of them would have to live long with their regret. The rain began again, the awful, pelting, deadening rain, and it felt to Mahmoud like Allah was crying for them, with tears. With them. They were drowning in his tears. Under the sweeping wash of rain, Mahmoud heard something like a drumbeat, water on something that was not water. He searched the rising and falling waves until he saw it, the backside of a life jacket still strapped to a man who floated face down in the water. In his mind's eye, Mahmoud immediately filled in the drowned man's face with that of his father, and his heart thumped against his own useless life jacket. He flailed in the water, half swimming, half towing his mother toward the body. But no, the life vest was blue, and his father's had been orange like Mahmoud's. And this one was a real working life jacket. Mahmoud let his mother go for just a moment and wrestled the body over. It was the big man who had sat next to him on the dinghy. His eyes and mouth were open, but there was no life in either one. The man was dead. It wasn't the first dead body Mahmoud had seen, not after 4 years of civil war with his hometown right in the middle of the fighting. A man had been killed right next to him in his family's car, he realized with the start. How long ago had that been? Days? Weeks? It seems like a lifetime ago. But no matter how many times he saw death, it never stopped being horrifying. Mahmoud shuddered and recoiled. But if the man was dead, that meant he didn't need his life jacket. Mahmoud fought down his fear and fumbled with the straps on the dead man's life jacket. Mahmoud's fingers moved, but he couldn't feel them. His hands were like blocks of ice. He only knew he was touching the straps because he could see it happening. Finally, he got one strap unbuckled and another, and as the body began to shift in the vest, Mahmoud realized he was condemning this man to the bottom of the sea. He would never be bathed and wrapped in a kafan, never be mourned by those who loved him, never have his friends and family say prayers over him, never be buried facing Mecca. Mahmoud was putting a man in his grave, and he had a duty to him. Mahmoud had heard funeral prayers too many times in his short life, most recently for his cousin Saeed, who had died when a barrel bomb exploded. Mahmoud quietly recited one now. O God, forgive this man and have mercy on him and give him strength and pardon him. Be generous to him and cause his entrance to be wide, and wash him with water and snow and hail. Cleanse him of his transgressions as white cloth is cleansed of stains. Give him an abode better than his home, and a family better than his family, and a wife better than his wife. Take him into paradise and protect him from the punishment of the grave and from the punishment of hellfire. When he was finished, Mahmoud clicked open the last of the straps, and the man's body rolled out of the vest and down into the murky depths of the Mediterranean Sea. Here, Mom, put this on, Mahmoud said. It took some time to get her into the life jacket, Mahmoud doing most of the work. But at last it was on her, and Mahmoud no longer had to fight to keep her afloat. She lay on her back, eyes closed, muttering about Hana, and Mahmoud clung to her life jacket. He sought to kick his legs to not pull them both under, but not nearly so much. He didn't know where they would go now, or how they would get out of the water. Perhaps in the light of day they would see land and be able to swim for it. In the meantime, they had to survive the night.